As we stand on the cusp of 2026, the world often seems to be a place of loud and sudden events. Headlines shout about daily crises, market swings, and political dramas. We are told stories of clear heroes and villains, of obvious wins and losses. But beneath this noisy surface, deeper and quieter currents are at work. These forces are not always visible in the daily news cycle, yet they are powerful. They are slowly but surely reshaping our world. These are the unseen shifts in power, the new rules of trade, and the quiet competition for the future. Understanding these hidden movements is more important than ever for making sense of where we are heading. The story we have been told for decades is changing. For a long time, it felt like the world was moving in one direction, guided by a single set of ideas and a dominant power. This era is now fading into the past. We are not just witnessing a change in leadership. We are experiencing a fundamental change in the structure of the world itself. The forces at play are complex and interconnected, pulling nations both together and apart in new ways. They affect everything from the price of food in our local stores to the jobs available in our communities and the technologies that will define our children's lives. These are not temporary disruptions. They are the new normal. Imagine the world as a massive ocean. For years, one large ship seemed to guide all the others, setting the course and the speed. Now, that ocean is filled with many large ships, each with its own captain and its own destination in mind. They form temporary fleets, navigate around each other, and sometimes compete for the same shipping lanes. This new reality is what we call a multipolar world. It is a world without a single director, where influence is more distributed and the future is less certain. This shift is the single most important geopolitical story of our time, and it is happening largely behind the scenes, one quiet decision at a time. This essay will explore these hidden forces that are shaping the year 2026 and beyond. We will look past the daily headlines to understand the bigger picture. We will examine how the rise of many powers is changing the rules of the game for everyone. We will see how countries are looking inward, protecting their own industries and workers. We will discuss the new arenas of competition, from advanced technology to the global search for talent. Finally, we will consider what these slow-moving but powerful trends mean for ordinary people, and what we should all be watching for as the future unfolds. The age of a single superpower steering the global ship is over. For many years after the Cold War, the United States was the undisputed leader in economics, military might, and cultural influence. Its vision for the world, one of open markets, democratic values, and international cooperation, was the dominant one. But that unipolar moment has passed. We are now living in a multipolar world. This means that power and influence are shared among several major players. The United States is still very powerful, of course, but China, the European Union, and a rising group of nations often called the Global South now have their own ideas and their own strength to pursue them. This shift to a world with many centers of power is not a sudden event. It has been building for years, quietly and steadily. The economic rise of China is a huge part of this story. It is now the largest trading partner for over 90 countries around the globe. At the same time, the European Union has been working to act as a more unified bloc, especially in areas like trade and regulation. And countries like India, Brazil, South Africa, and others in the Global South are no longer content to simply follow the lead of others. They are charting their own independent courses, forming new alliances, and demanding a greater say in how the world is run. What does this multipolar order look like in practice? It means that global decision-making has become much more complicated. In the past, major international agreements often depended on Washington's approval. Now, any significant global action requires a consensus among several powerful and often competing capitals. This makes cooperation on big issues like climate change, pandemics, or economic crises much harder to achieve. Instead of one set of rules for the whole world, we are seeing the emergence of different blocs, each with its own preferred standards for trade, technology, and even human rights. The world is becoming more fragmented. For people everywhere, this change from a unipolar to a multipolar world has real consequences. It creates both uncertainty and opportunity. The competition between major powers can lead to instability and conflict. But it also means that smaller and medium-sized countries have more options. They can play the big powers off against each other to get better deals on trade, investment, and security. The global system is no longer a simple hierarchy with one leader at the top. It is a complex web of relationships where influence is constantly being negotiated and contested by many different actors, all at the same time. One of the most powerful unseen forces shaping 2026 is a change in thinking about the global economy. For decades, the dominant idea was globalization. This meant making goods wherever it was cheapest, usually in faraway countries, and then shipping them all over the world. This created long and complex supply chains that crisscrossed the planet. But recently, this idea has fallen out of favor. Countries are now more focused on economic nationalism. They want to protect their own industries and bring manufacturing jobs back to their own shores. This is often called reshoring or friend-shoring, where production is moved to a home country or to a trusted ally. This shift was accelerated by several recent shocks. The COVID-19 pandemic revealed how fragile our global supply chains really were. Suddenly, countries found they could not get essential items like medical masks or semiconductor chips because the factories were all located in one or two distant places. Then, geopolitical tensions, like the war in Ukraine and frictions between the United States and China, made relying on potential rivals for critical goods seem very risky. Governments realized that economic efficiency was not the only thing that mattered. Economic security and resilience became just as important. They decided they needed more control over the production of essential goods. As a result, governments are now intervening in their economies in ways we have not seen for a generation. They are using tools like tariffs, which are taxes on imported goods, to make foreign products more expensive and domestic ones more competitive. State intervention in what are considered mission-critical sectors has increased 6 times since 2021. They are also offering huge subsidies and tax breaks to convince companies to build new factories at home, especially for things like computer chips, electric vehicle batteries, and pharmaceuticals. This is not just about protecting old industries. It is a race to dominate the industries of the future. This trend has profound effects on people's daily lives. On one hand, it can create new manufacturing jobs in countries that had lost them. It can make supply chains more reliable, so we are less likely to see empty shelves in stores during a crisis. But it also has downsides. Building things in higher-wage countries can make products more expensive for consumers. This contributes to inflation, meaning your money does not go as far as it used to. It also complicates international trade, as countries put up barriers to protect their own markets. The era of cheap goods from anywhere in the world may be coming to an end, replaced by a more fragmented and costly global marketplace. In this new era of competition, the world's major powers are pursuing very different strategies to secure their interests. The United States is focused on an America-first industrial policy. It is using a combination of tariffs and massive government investment to encourage companies to build factories in the United States, particularly in high-tech sectors. This policy aims to reduce reliance on other countries, especially China, for critical goods. At the same time, the United States is trying to maintain its financial leadership. By keeping interest rates relatively high, it has kept the US dollar strong, attracting investment from around the world and making it a safe haven in uncertain times. The 2026 midterm elections will be a crucial test of public support for this costly strategy. China, on the other hand, is playing a long game. Its primary goal is to achieve technological self-sufficiency and reduce its dependence on foreign technology, especially from the West. Beijing is pouring vast resources into developing its own capabilities in areas like semiconductors, artificial intelligence, and biotechnology. While it faces significant domestic challenges, such as a struggling property market and slowing economic growth, its global influence continues to expand. It is deepening its economic ties with countries across the global south, using trade and investment to build a network of partners who are less aligned with the United States. China's strategy is one of building resilience at home while expanding its influence abroad. Europe finds itself in a more precarious position. It is caught between the two giants, the United States and China, and faces its own internal divisions and economic headwinds. In response, Europe is trying to carve out a path of strategic autonomy. It is acting more cautiously, trying to avoid being forced to choose sides. On the economic front, it is pursuing new trade deals with large markets like South America's Mercosur bloc and countries like Indonesia and India. On the security front, Europe is finally beginning to increase its defense spending significantly, aiming to close the gap with the United States and become more responsible for its own security. Europe's plan is to become a stronger, more independent player. Meanwhile, a diverse group of countries in the global south is asserting its own agency. Powers like India, Brazil, Indonesia, and South Africa are refusing to be mere pawns in the great power competition. They are pursuing independent foreign policies, seeking to maximize their own economic growth and development. These nations represent a growing share of the global economy. By 2030, the Global South is projected to account for about half of all global economic growth. They are building new alliances among themselves and demanding reforms to global institutions to give them a louder voice. Their strategy is to create a world where they are not just rule takers, but rule makers. The most intense competition of the 21st century is not for territory or natural resources in the traditional sense. Instead, it's a race for technological supremacy and the human talent required to achieve it. The key battleground is artificial intelligence, but it also includes other frontier technologies like quantum computing, biotechnology, and green energy. Countries believe that whoever leads in these fields will dominate the global economy and hold a decisive strategic advantage for decades to come. This is not just about creating the next popular app. It is about controlling the foundational technologies that will reshape every industry and aspect of modern life. The AI race is currently dominated by two main players, the United States and China. American companies have created the majority of the world's top large language models, the powerful AI systems that can write, code, and create. China is not far behind, investing heavily to catch up and become a world leader in AI by 2030. This competition is fierce, driving innovation at an incredible pace. However, the rules and regulations that govern this powerful technology are lagging far behind. There is a growing fear that AI could be used in dangerous ways, from creating autonomous weapons to spreading mass disinformation, without proper international guardrails in place. Alongside the race for technology is an equally intense scramble for talent. A brilliant engineer or a pioneering scientist is now seen as a critical national asset. Countries are competing to attract and retain the world's best and brightest minds. The United States remains the top destination for skilled talent, attracting hundreds of thousands of experts in the past year alone. But other nations are catching up. Gulf states like the UAE and Saudi Arabia are using attractive salaries and high-tech infrastructure to become new talent hubs. Meanwhile, countries like India are major sources of this mobile talent, with many of its top STEM and AI experts moving abroad to pursue opportunities. This global competition for brains and bytes is creating a new kind of world map. It's one defined not by borders, but by clusters of innovation and pools of talent. For individuals, this means that skills in science, technology, engineering, and math are more valuable than ever. For countries, it means that education systems and immigration policies have become central tools of national strategy. The ability to innovate and to attract the people who can drive that innovation will be a key determinant of a nation's power and prosperity in 2026 and beyond. This silent race is fundamentally reshaping the global hierarchy of power. While the world's attention is often fixed on traditional wars fought with tanks and soldiers, the nature of conflict itself is changing and expanding. The number of active wars around the globe is at its highest point since World War II. But beyond these visible battlefields, competition and conflict are spilling over into new, often unseen domains. These new arenas include cyberspace, outer space, and even the deep sea. The lines between peace and war are becoming blurred as nations engage in constant, low-level confrontation in these new dimensions of strategic competition. Cyber warfare is perhaps the most active of these new battlefields. Government-backed hackers are constantly probing the defenses of other nations, seeking to steal state secrets, disrupt critical infrastructure, or spread propaganda. A power grid, financial system, or a water supply could be targeted without a single shot being fired. This creates a persistent sense of vulnerability. Similarly, space is becoming increasingly militarized. Satellites are essential for modern communication, navigation, and intelligence gathering. Nations are developing and testing anti-satellite weapons, raising the prospect of a conflict in space that could cripple the technologies we rely on every day on Earth. Another hidden front is emerging beneath the waves. The undersea cables that carry over 95% of all international internet traffic are incredibly vulnerable. A hostile actor could cut these cables, potentially isolating entire continents from the global digital economy. This new risk is forcing navies to think not just about protecting ships on the surface, but also about securing critical infrastructure on the ocean floor. These new domains of conflict require different kinds of weapons and defenses, shifting military spending towards software, satellites, and unmanned systems. For Europe alone, this is projected to create a huge new market for defense contractors. This expansion of conflict into new domains makes the world a more dangerous and unpredictable place. It means that countries can be in a state of perpetual conflict without ever officially declaring war. For ordinary citizens, the risks are less about physical danger and more about the disruption of essential services that underpin modern life. A successful cyber attack could shut down hospitals, while a conflict in space could disable the GPS on your phone. As we look toward 2026, understanding that the battlefield is no longer limited to a physical place is crucial for grasping the true nature of 21st century security risks. The same forces of geopolitical competition that are driving countries apart are also weakening the institutions designed to bring them together. For over 70 years, a network of global organizations like the United Nations, the World Trade Organization, and the World Health Organization formed the backbone of the international order. They provided a forum for diplomacy, set common rules for trade, and coordinated responses to global crises. But today, this system of multilateral cooperation is under severe strain. The spirit of shared purpose is eroding, replaced by a narrow focus on national interest. The growing rivalry between the major powers is paralyzing these institutions. For example, the UN Security Council, the body responsible for maintaining international peace, is often deadlocked because its permanent members, the United States, China, Russia, France, and the United Kingdom, use their veto power to block actions that go against their interests. This has made it incredibly difficult for the world to respond effectively to wars or humanitarian crises. Similarly, the World Trade Organization's system for resolving trade disputes has been weakened as major economies increasingly ignore its rules and engage in direct trade fights with one another, using tariffs and sanctions as their weapons of choice. This erosion of cooperation has serious consequences, especially for the world's most vulnerable people. As major countries focus more on their own problems, budgets for international aid are being cut. This makes it harder for global institutions and non-governmental organizations to respond to famines, natural disasters, and refugee crises. At the same time, rising interest rates and a strong United States dollar are making it much more expensive for low-income countries to pay back their debts. This is pushing many nations toward a financial crisis, limiting their ability to invest in healthcare, education, and development for their citizens. The decline of global cooperation means we are less prepared to tackle the big problems that no single country can solve alone. Future pandemics, the regulation of artificial intelligence, or managing the global financial system all require a high degree of international trust and teamwork. But in a world where every country is looking out for itself, finding common ground is becoming increasingly difficult. The fraying of these institutional ties is a slow and quiet process, but it represents one of the most significant unseen dangers we face as we head into 2026. The safety net that the world has relied on for decades is becoming weaker just when we need it most. For a time, it seemed the world was slowly coming together to address the urgent threat of climate change. Global agreements were signed, and countries made pledges to reduce their carbon emissions. But today, the path forward on climate and energy policy is becoming more fragmented and divergent. The consensus is breaking down. In the face of geopolitical tensions and economic uncertainty, many countries are prioritizing energy security over their long-term decarbonization goals. They are more worried about having enough affordable energy to power their economies today than they are about meeting their climate targets for tomorrow. This has led to a great divergence in national strategies. On one side, you have a country like China, which is paradoxically both a world leader in renewable energy and the world's largest consumer of coal. By the end of 2024, China had installed a massive amount of solar power capacity, far more than any other nation. It dominates the global manufacturing of solar panels, wind turbines, and electric vehicle batteries. Yet, at the same time, it continues to build new coal-fired power plants to ensure its energy supply is stable. This highlights the central tension between green ambitions and the immediate need for energy security. In the United States, the political winds have shifted. While there was once a strong push for incentives to encourage the adoption of climate-friendly products and technologies, that momentum appears to be waning. Policy has become a political football, with different administrations pursuing wildly different approaches. This policy instability makes it difficult for businesses to make long-term investments in green technology. This divergence between the major economic powers creates a fragmented global landscape for climate action. Without a coordinated approach, efforts like carbon taxes or global carbon markets become much less effective. This growing divide on energy and climate policy has significant global implications. It creates an uneven playing field for businesses, a situation sometimes called carbon leakage, where companies move their polluting factories to countries with weaker environmental regulations. It also complicates international climate negotiations, as trust between nations erodes. For ordinary people, this policy chaos can lead to volatility in energy prices and uncertainty about the future. The dream of a unified global response to climate change is being replaced by a more complex and competitive reality, where energy independence is once again taking center stage in the calculations of nations. As we navigate the road to 2026, it is clear that the world is being reshaped by powerful, slow-moving forces that often go unnoticed. The headlines may be loud, but the underlying currents are what truly matter. The shift to a multipolar world, the rise of economic nationalism, and the intense competition for technology are not just abstract concepts for politicians and academics. They are creating a new reality that will affect the job you have, the prices you pay, and the security you feel. The old map of the world no longer applies, and we are all living through the process of a new one being drawn. So, what should an ordinary person watch for as these changes continue to unfold. First, pay attention to the prices of everyday goods. As countries bring supply chains closer to home and engage in trade disputes, the era of ever-cheaper products may be over. Persistent inflation and cost of living pressures are a direct consequence of this new geopolitical landscape. Notice where things are made. You may start to see more products labeled Made in America or Made in Europe, but they may come with a higher price tag. This is the trade-off between global efficiency and national resilience. Second, keep an eye on the job market and the skills that are in demand. The race for technological dominance means that skills in artificial intelligence, software development, engineering, and biotechnology are becoming incredibly valuable. Governments are investing heavily to build these industries at home, creating new opportunities for those with the right training. The global scramble for talent also means that highly skilled individuals will have more mobility and bargaining power than ever before. Education and lifelong learning are no longer just personal goals. They are essential tools for navigating this changing economic landscape. Finally, watch how countries talk to and about each other. The tone of international diplomacy is a good barometer of global stability. Pay attention to whether leaders are talking about cooperation and shared challenges or about rivalry and national interest. The weakening of global institutions means that when the next crisis hits, be it a pandemic, a financial crash, or a major conflict, the world may be less able to respond in a coordinated way. The quiet currents discussed in this essay are powerful and relentless. They are not pulling the world in a single, clear direction, but in many different directions at once. Being aware of them is the first step toward understanding the complex and uncertain world of 2026.